The fastest way to kill good employer brand work? Call it employer brand work. You see, the minute you say EVP, you do not get alignment, you get a committee, and committees do not hire people. Here's what's happening. A lot of companies do not lose hiring momentum because they lack words. They lose it because the second you say EVP, every stakeholder hears a different threat. They hear a different turf war, a different approval process. So today, I want to show you how you can do the exact work you need to get done without triggering this parade of litany of terrors so that you can build the hiring messages that your company is desperate for you to build. If you're sick of being treated like a cost center, if you're tired of hearing your CEO say, just hire faster, giving you zero leverage and no extra budget, if you've been trying to explain that employer brand is so much more strategic than just a pretty website, well, you're ready for the next revolution in talent and people. Welcome. I'm James Ellis, and this is Becoming Choosable. And together, we can grow your company from the hire up. Let's show leadership that recruiting, HR, employer brand driving businesses forward by turning people work into growth work. You ready? Well, let's see what the claw machine of destiny has for us today. Welcome, my friends, to the show that never ends. Well, it may, who knows? With my track record, it'll either go 200 episodes or 10. We'll find out how it goes. But I want to talk to my people side rebels. That's you. I mean, honestly, you would not be watching the show if it wasn't for that. That you were one of those people trying to push. And today, we're going to talk about influence. That's our topic for the day. Thank you, Claw Machine of Destiny. Because people work is growth work. Hiring, retention, clarity, manager behavior, candidate trust, none of that is soft. None of that is side work. That is how companies grow, or it's how they stall. See, we are here to make that stuff is all completely legible, practical, hard to ignore. So, funny thing is, I was at this conference recently. I got invited to it. It was really nice. I got to present a bunch of stuff and reporting. I scraped a bunch of analysis on each of the company's career sites and their LinkedIn profiles and what their recruiters were saying on LinkedIn. It was really interesting stuff. Not a bunch of generic, trending stuff. It was very specific. It was not broad and here's an according to a study stuff. It was them. I was giving them a mirror to say, this is how you appear. Your career sites, all that stuff. And honestly, the best part is always not me on stage. I mean, I'm a delight, obviously, but the best part is always after. Once they've heard me talk, once they've kind of loosened up and the Greek food is kind of getting everybody warmed up and everybody's, engaged and listening, they've seen the reports and they've learned something and their brains are turned on. They start to talk. Right? Some call it the hallway conversations, call it the drinks after conversation. It doesn't matter. It's, all the off the record stuff. This is what's really going on conversations. That's the best part. That's where the truth shows up and where people stop pretending that the process is working and start talking about the scars and the issues and the fears and the challenges. One of the big themes that came up was EVP. Not what is an EVP, obviously, not how do I build an EVP, obviously, but more about, we really need a really strong EVP, but every time we try to start one, every stakeholder in the company shows up and turns it into mush. Comms has a say. Marketing has a say. Legal has a say. Legal. Social's got a say. HR has a say. Someone's dog probably has a say, right? It doesn't matter who it is. Everybody's got something to insert into the EVP. It's a Christmas tree and they all brought boxes of ornaments to hang on it. Suddenly it doesn't resemble what you need it to be. Everybody comes in with their own opinions and agendas about things they don't really understand, but they feel so strangely entitled to govern, to own, to try and drive and influence. Now, to be perfectly blunt, I know that pain all too well. You know that pain all too well, I'm guessing. We've all been in those rooms thinking that a version of this same thought of, oh gosh, please shut the hell up and let me do my job, right? This is what you paid me for. Right? That sense of meta work, having to justify my existence in the room, in the office, in the company, kills me. And it probably kills you too. Now, it's not an official recommendation to say stuff like that. Don't demand that people let you do your job. But we got to figure out a way to let them do your job. Now, as someone with those same scars who has been through it couple of times, more than my share around the Ferris wheel, as it were, I have some opinions. And they aren't just the salty, let me do my damn job opinions. There's actually some advice on what to do to get past that conversation. Ready? And I get that emotionally and spiritually and professionally, you're stuck. You're feeling like it doesn't go anywhere. You know how important the EVP is. You know how important the employer brand is, but you're just kind of mired and the tires are spinning and you're going nowhere. So, to the person, and I won't name names because they know who they are, to the person who says, I'm just feeling very stuck, nothing is going anywhere, I offered a very specific piece of advice, and I'm going to share it with you. What if you stopped calling it an EVP? That's it. That's the whole move, right? Not because the work should be smaller. I'm not trying to squeeze you down to be tiny and immaterial and unnecessary. Not because the work matters less, not because you're hiding, but because the label EVP or employer brand is causing the damage. EVP is baggage, a lot of baggage, stigma. Marketing hears EVP and thinks, oh, good. Recruiter read a book about marketing and now suddenly wants to cosplay on positioning. Yay. Trust me, you know that feeling you got when everybody showed up to your meeting and told you what to do? They are having that exact feeling when you say things like, I'm going to build an EVP. They think you are tromping on their turf. And I get where they're coming from. Employer brand people spend a lot of time being told that everyone else understands our work better than we do. So when we wander into marketing territory with a loaded acronym and a big smile, they just hear invasion. We are the barbarians at the gates to them. We are a distraction and they've got 7 trillion things to do. They want us gone. So what they're going to do is stick us in a box. They're going to shove us away. They're going to do everything they can to make it go away. And when comms hears EVP, they think, oh, good. Wonderful. Another quasi-corporate messaging object that needs governance, approval, and probably inscription into stone. Yay. Legal hears this and thinks, well, if this goes on the career site, millions of people will see it. And therefore, we have to review every syllable until it tastes like drywall. HR hears EVP and thinks, this sounds like a large, abstract, political, and slow project. Better form a task force. And that's what those letters do, right? Not because those people are evil, but because they just like rules, right? And labels create expectations. Labels tell people what kind of meeting it is, what kind of risk this is, what kind of power they think they should have over the thing. And if you choose the wrong label, you're not starting a project, you're pulling a fire alarm. Now, I've talked for years about how labels change behavior. Call something an intake meeting and you've already made yourself the order taker, the waiter, right? Okay, yes, sir. You want one project manager, medium rare, side of fries, extra urgency, no budget constraints mentioned until later. Got it. Okay, someone will be right out with a pile of bread. This is what intake meeting does. It tells the hiring manager that your job is to collect the order. But if you call it a talent strategy meeting, suddenly everything changes, even if the room doesn't. Suddenly you're the expert. You're bringing labor market context. You're bringing compensation realities. You're bringing messaging strategy, trade-offs, risks. You're not taking the order. You're shaping the outcome. Just labeling. The same people, same calendar invites, different label. That's all it is. Suddenly you get different behaviors and different people are interested. Suddenly, different people have different levels of power. So why would we pretend the same thing is not true with an EVP? The label is doing all this work. It's just working against us. Bad work we don't want any part of. Now, here's the part I think people miss. Your first client is recruiting. Let's kind of hold for a minute, okay? Because I don't care where employer brand lives on the org chart. You know, I go get a little worked up on the red herring conversation argument that is, where should employer brand live? I absolutely loathe the conversation. I think it distracts from things that matter. Put it wherever you flippin' want. There are pros and cons to each answer. You choose. I am not going to tell you where I think it goes because I don't know. I don't have enough information. But no matter where it lives, the first client of good employer brand is recruiting. The first measurable payoff is in recruiting. The first visible difference is that recruiters, hiring managers, job posts, outreach, interview loops, career sites, content, they all stop sounding like 6 departments wrote 6 different stories about 6 different companies. So if the first client is recruiting, then why not call the work what it does? Hiring effectiveness messaging, recruitment messaging, candidate choice messaging. Pick a label. Doesn't matter. The point is this: call it something that focuses on the job to be done, not the corporate mythology people project onto that acronym. Because hiring effectiveness messaging, that sounds like a tactic. And yes, in one sense it is, but that makes it a wedge. It is the way you get real work done without burying yourself into a year of stakeholder education theater. Because this is the fork in the road that you're standing on right now. On one path, you spend the next 3, maybe 6 months, maybe a year trying to educate a room full of people who do not want to learn anything about employer brand, what an employer brand and EVP really is. To my current client who may be watching this, you know they don't care. They don't actually want to learn this stuff. Good luck. Pack a lunch. You're going to be there a while. Now, path 2, you relabel the work around the outcomes you actually need. Better recruiter language, better candidate understanding, better messaging consistency, better conversion on the roles that matter. That's the path that gets used. That's the path that gets funded. That path gets ignored just enough for you to actually make progress. And that's the part that matters. Because once you stop calling it an EVP, a bunch of people stop caring. I mean, why does comms need to govern hiring effective messaging? It's not like they're reviewing every recruiting message on LinkedIn. They're not editing every outreach email. They're not redlining every bullet on a job posting. I mean, sure, maybe once a long time ago, they double checked the sad paragraph of corporate boilerplate that you stick and copy and paste into the job posting. Fine, whatever. We've all done that. We've all had to be there. But they don't want the job of supervising recruitment messaging day to day. They really don't. Marketing doesn't want that job either. And legal definitely doesn't want more work. I mean, unless you hand them a label that makes it sound like corporate scripture, then they need to be involved. So stop handing them that label. Now, let me be very clear. This is not about letting recruiters say any damn thing they want. That would be chaos. And frankly, that's what we're inheriting, and that's what we're trying to fix. That's not strategy. That's just freestyle nonsense in a business casual outfit. This idea of relabeling EVPs to something safer and smaller is a guerrilla marketing play. It only works when the message you are replacing and putting in place is stronger, if it's backed by proof. It only works if the message aligns with what the corporation already stands for. So as an example, let's just say your message is about empowerment. Like, you know, because you do the good work, you understand what the company should be talking about. If you had a magic wand, you would say your EVP was founded and based in the concept of empowerment, right? And not the generic, we empower our people stuff, because that's blah, blah, blah. No one actually believes it. I mean a more precise version. Maybe it sounds something like, you get decision rights here earlier. Or, I don't know, you really own problems before your title catches up. Or maybe you do not have to wait 3 layers up for permission to move. That kind of language speaks to empowerment. It talks about empowerment. That's useful. That's good stuff. So if that's the hiring effective message, it should show up on the recruiter outreach. It should show up in the job post. It should show up on the career side and the employee stories and the manager interview language. It should show up on the LinkedIn content, because the candidate journey is not just a single artifact. It's that entire chain. They get outreach, they double click the job, they Google you, they look at your career site, they click LinkedIn, they see what's going on, they read what the hiring manager talks about, what the job posting says. They look for signs that these ideas, in this case about empowerment, are true. So if your message is only living in one place, it's not really a message, it's decoration. Now, this is where changing the label gets smart. You don't have to build this in a vacuum. In fact, you absolutely shouldn't. You should build your employer brand by stealing from the grown-ups, as it were. Marketing already has a brand brief. Comms probably already has some sort of message priorities. The consumer brand already has language they like to use. Leadership already has strategic claims they repeat in investor decks, town halls, press releases, all that stuff. So go get that stuff. Read it all. Find the ideas that are already being embraced and are completely acceptable by the entire company, and build your hiring effective messaging so that it dovetails perfectly around those ideas while still being specific to the candidates, to why a person would choose to work there. That is the ninja move. Not to invent a brand out of whole cloth and say, hey, everybody, I brought a new brand, but to say, hey, If a brand is a prism and we are all looking through that brand, every institutional investors and investor relations and consumer marketing and corporate marketing and comms, and you understand that core, similar, same shared brand, and think of how would you use that brand to speak to the candidates. And it's going to turn out, because you're all sharing that same brand, you're going to use a lot of the same language, a lot of the same ideas. That's why when employer brand does its job, it serves consumer marketing and investor relations, because it's supporting the shared brand. In this way, you're not asking permission to invent a corporate story or something new. You're simply translating the company's existing truth into candidate choice language. And that way, when marketing sees it, they don't go, "Who approved this rogue brand system?" They go, "Huh, yeah, that aligns. Carry on." They may not even realize that you did that on purpose. And that is fine. It's completely fine. You are not doing this for applause. You are doing it so that it survives contact with the organization. That's how you build influence. Not louder slides, not bigger nouns, not more words, not more stakeholder workshops. Influence is building something just useful enough, aligned enough, practical enough that people stop fighting over it and actually flip and use the thing. That's why I think the term EVP is out. Not as an idea, that work, critical to business success, but as a label inside most companies, they're trained to overreact to it. And once you relabel that, you can build the real thing in plain sight. It's a shadow brand almost. Not fake, not secret, just not waving a big old flag that says everybody come interfere, right? You build the recruiter messaging, you build the manager language, you align everything, you attune the career site copy, you create the proof bank, you get the employee stories, you embed the message across all the touch points so that it all aligns and tells the story you're trying to tell. And then 6 months later, 12 months later, once the message has been living in the system and everybody's used to seeing it and kind of understanding it, then maybe it's time to package it up. That's when you say, "Great news, everybody. We have clarity around why people choose us. We have message consistency across all the channels. We have the proof. We have the adoption. We have better recruiter language. We have the bones of an EVP." And because people have already seen it, and frankly, they've already lived with it, they don't treat it like some monster they have to defend against. They treat it like documentation of something that's already working, which it is. And that is why relabeling isn't just cosmetic, it's deeply strategic. It changes who shows up, it changes who interferes, it changes how the work gets understood and how fast you can move. Because any change in speed creates delay, and delay gets expensive fast. Generic messaging is expensive. Inconsistent touchpoints are expensive. Committee language is expensive. Candidate confusion is expensive, because if they can't choose, you will lose. So let's make this practical. Obviously, the big move here is to not call an EVP, especially before you've got that message nailed and kind of living and breathing inside the company. That one label buys you extra meetings, extra red lines, extra politics, extra delay. Meanwhile, your recruiters are still out there using whatever the hell that is they make up today, which means delays cost money. Mushy language costs money. A clear label gets better work to go live faster. Now, here are a few things you can say internally when you get pushback, because you're going to get pushback. We make change, we get pushback. That's just life. You might say things like, "This is not a new corporate brand project. This is simply a hiring effective project for our priority roles." That really limits the focus and the scope so that no one really feels the need to interfere or be involved in that. Remember, everybody's very busy. They only feel the need to stick their beak in it when they think it's going to affect them. So if you really change the scope, they don't feel like they have to be as involved, which gives you the room to do better work. Maybe you say, "We're aligning recruiter outreach, job posts, and career site language so candidates hear one consistent reason to choose us." Simple. Simple. Who needs to be involved in that? That's a recruiter's job and the recruiting talent acquisitions team's job. So let recruiting and talent acquisition handle that job. Perhaps you might say, "We're going to start with one role family, measure the results, and expand only if the message improves response, conversion, or whatever metric you seem to care about the most." That's influence. It's how you make the project sound useful well before it sounds big. And when the CFO says things like, is this just funding another branding project? You're going to say, no. We're not doing that. This is improving hiring effectiveness for the roles that drive growth, and we'll measure it through response rates, application starts, and offer acceptance. That is language a CFO can understand. It's got brackets around it. It's not some long-term project that's going to require all the execs, everybody to weigh in. It seems very, very limited scope, and it tells the CFO, don't worry, in a way that they will actually believe. And finally, here's the one more move you should do pretty much immediately. You're trying to get an EVP through, which means you have, I can guess, I feel pretty confident, an EVP slide, a one-pager, a one-paper kind of thing, some sort of kickoff deck to sign, hey, this is what the employer brand is. You're effectively putting a big red flag in front of a bunch of bulls. You're waving it around as fast as possible. Instead, replace the headline on that slide and just have it say, hiring effectiveness messaging for priority roles. Then underneath it, 4 simple sections. 1, what do we want the candidate to believe? 2, what proof makes that believable? 3, where is that message going to show up? And 4, what's the metric that's going to tell us that this works? That's it. Do that for one role, one family of roles, one team maybe, not the whole company. Don't boil the ocean. Don't try to, eat the whole elephant. Don't try to invite the committee in before you have something useful to protect. Build the message, embed the message, measure the message, then package it up once you have the proof that it's working. This is how you grow your company from the higher up. Remember, people work becomes growth work the minute you make it measurable, useful, and hard to ignore. Be sure to share this episode with someone on your team or someone in another team who is tired of fighting the EVP fight the old way. Because if they can't choose, you will lose. Be sure to subscribe on YouTube so you don't miss an episode. This podcast is brought to you by Becoming Choosable, available at Amazon as a paperback or ebook. And by Employer Brand Labs. Make your priority roles choosable in 30 days. Because you can't outspend them, but you can outclarify them.